Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Untitled Life here, and today I'm going to be talking to you all about Ultra Street Fighter 2, the final challengers, I think. It's the one on the Switch. Now, a major point for contention with many of the hardcore fans, the Street Fighter fans, the fighting game fans, and just the fans of the Switch, is the high price tag. Is it really worth buying this game for $40-sodding? Well, I'm about to tell you, well, at least what I think. Now, Street Fighter 2 is without a doubt a very, very good game. It is a classic game, beautifully refined almost to a T, and it is worthy of its legendary status. I don't think anybody's here to contest that, certainly not me. And to this day, it is as good as ever. It's a really, really solid game, and it stands up to this day. It's maybe not as 100% refined as more modern games, but it has quite a small roster, which makes it really easy to balance. So it is a really balanced game. And, you know, it's simple in its design, and to a degree I think that's almost to its benefit. And this version on the Switch promises to be the ultimate version of Street Fighter 2. And could it possibly be that? Well, I'm not a massive Street Fighter 2 veteran, but according to one of my colleagues, it may very well be, because it is just, you know, sort of, it's the latest version, it's got new characters. How could it not be the ultimate version? You know, it's got online, it's got the updated graphics if you want them, but you can turn them off, you can have the retro sound, so it is basically just the original game with all the bells and whistles that you'd expect without actually upsetting the core gameplay. It sounds pretty much too good to be true. Well, not really, but it sounds good. And in order to justify this $40 price tag, we've been given the wonderful gift of 2 new characters in the game in the form of Evil Ryu and Violent Ken. The latter of which just sounds like an angry man down the pub. Although, according to my sources, these are in fact not entirely new characters. They have appeared in other games. Can you believe it? I'm gonna have to refer to my notes for this one. Evil Ryu, for example, appeared in Street Fighter Alpha 2, and Violent Ken appeared in SNK vs. Capcom SVC Chaos. Apparently. I'm inclined to believe him, he knows what he's talking about. And to me, that really does devalue the characters a bit. I mean, you know, they are still new to Street Fighter 2, if you like, but, you know, they're not even new characters. It's not like when they introduced, what was it, Street Fighter 2 Turbo or Championship Edition, where you got the new characters like Cammy and DJ and stuff like that. That's not really good enough for, you know, for the $40 price tag. So, is there anything else in this game that makes it worthwhile? Well, there is online mode, which could be fantastic. But we don't know, because we haven't been able to test the online mode because the game's not out yet and they haven't turned the servers on, which we think is really quite short-sighted. But worry ye not, because you can also change all the colours of your characters. Yes, you can palette swap to your heart's delight. It is a nice touch, and it's nice to be able to just, you know, sort of muck around with the characters' colours as much as possible, but it's not enough, you know? It's just palette swapping, which is fun, you know, sort of maybe if you go online you can have your color, you know, your custom color, and that's kind of cool in a way, but at the same time it's not really enough, you know, sort of we've been doing it in online games for years now, and it doesn't really add anything, to be honest. It's a cool feature for sure, but it's not really enough to warrant the price tag. But thankfully we do have one more mode, one more killer feature that makes this game worth all those 40 of your dollars, according to Capcom. Way of the Hado. Yeah, this is the motion control rubbish that's been thrown in at the last minute, just to try and justify the costs. I genuinely think that's it. And using the Switch motion controls, you can do a Hadouken, you can do this, you can do that, and it doesn't work properly. We've already done a video all about it, you can check it out up there. And honestly, it just doesn't work. There are only 3 stages, one of which, the final one, is borderline impossible to do. There's also an endless mode. But the biggest problem is that the idea is good. The idea is good to be doing, you know, all the actions like the Hadouken and stuff like that. That's a good idea. But it just doesn't work because it's just not accurate enough. It's just not been well programmed enough in order to work, and I don't think it's a drawback necessarily with the Switch's hardware, although that surely is a factor involved. It's just that they're trying to do too many complex movements, and they just haven't done it properly. It's as simple as that. At the risk of sounding too cruel, it is not worth your time at all. There's only 3 stages, and like an endless mode as well, but it is just simply not worth your time. It's just a waggle mini game from the Wii era, slapped into the Switch version to try and make this game seem more worthwhile, and honestly, just doesn't work. That's the biggest problem. It just doesn't work. The core gameplay of Street Fighter 2 is as good as it's ever been. This may well be the best version of Street Fighter 2 to own, full stop, but the extra stuff doesn't warrant the $40 price tag. It's just too expensive for such an old game, and it really does feel like, honestly, I don't wish to be rude, but it does feel like cheap, lazy money grabbing by Capcom. And that's a real shame because, I mean, maybe in the future when this comes down in price, you know, if you could pick this up for $15, you know, 10 quid or 12 quid, something like that, that's in UK pounds, chaps, then it would be worth it. Honestly, it would be well worth it in my opinion, but for that price, there's just not going on. There's just not enough going on in there when you can download Ultra Street Fighter 2 on various other platforms, you know, not necessarily the Switch. It just isn't worth it. It just isn't worth it. I'm just going to leave it at that. Because, well, that's kind of what the whole video's about. Oh. But what do you think? Do you think it's worth dropping $40 on this game? Let us know down there in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you grab that subscribe button, rip it in half, and do a Hadouken towards the new subscribe button that had to take its place because you just killed it. And be sure to check out NintendoLife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye.